So we are talking about the 5 trauma responses, and we're going to talk about how it can cause people to hurt others, or it can cause the person to be hurt by having the system in general keep provoking that particular trauma response. So one of the things that we have to recognize is that most people are familiar with fight or flight, but most of us are not in a, wilderness kind of scenario where we're going to be dealing with, oh crap, there's a bear chasing us, right? If you hear something and it's a bear, your brain's going to probably go with flight, not fight. But there are times in which fight would be appropriate in a survival context. But in the modern world, it's not acceptable that often. So one of the things we have is this immediate response to fight, and maybe not anywhere to put it safely. Because you certainly can't fight your boss. You can, but there's repercussions you don't necessarily want. There's a power structure that says you can't really do much about what your situation is in your current state. So a lot of people, that anger is there, but they can't necessarily argue with their boss or with somebody in power over them. So they put it inside themselves long enough to go take it out on a cashier, or take it out on their partner, or take it out on somebody else in society that they're allowed to be degrading towards, right? Or they are taking it out in passive aggressive ways. They're nitpicking at people so that they can get into an argument. They are using these ways to be aggressive. That is still fight. Now, one of the things we have to talk about on the zoomed out perspective is that it is easy for somebody who is in a trauma response to be pushed around and to get them to do things, especially if they're being handed frameworks like propaganda, misinformation, and disinformation. So if you've got your trauma all spun up, pretty much all they have to do is wind you up and then tell you who's to blame. They release you and you go after that because you desperately need a catharsis, because it's an externalization. You need that catharsis to feel more stabilized again. This trauma response needs to push things out of you. And so you need to have that fit. You need to yell at someone. You need to have that argument. You need to have that stimulation externally to re-regulate again. It may not be the healthiest way to do that, but it is what the trauma response is. And so when these kinds of propaganda, misinformation, disinformation campaigns work, is they spin you up, they get you into this state, and then they wind you all up and let you go, because they want you to go out on the internet and scream at people about how they're wrong. They want you to go out and constantly spread disinformation and misinformation for them. They want you to do this. And so they know that it's not going to be everybody that does this. Not everyone has the fight response, but it's going to be enough that it causes chaos, and that's what they're looking for.